Today we are talking about anatomy of heart. So we are inside the human body and heart is situated here surrounded by lungs, the right lung and the left lung. Now we breathe in oxygen with the air from the environment and the oxygen reaches the lungs. But oxygen is needed by all the body parts. So oxygen in the blood has to be pumped to all the body parts. So the blood vessels present in the lungs will send the oxygenated blood to the heart and the heart will pump them to other body parts. The oxygenated blood from the lungs coming to the heart. And the heart is pumping the oxygenated blood to both the upper body part and the lower body part. After reaching the body part, the oxygen will be released from the blood and the blood will have very low amount of oxygen and it will be called deoxygenated blood. And the deoxygenated blood will return back to the heart. And after that, the heart will pump the deoxygenated blood towards the lungs to get some oxygen from the lungs. Now, there are two compartments of the heart, the right compartment and the left compartment. And the body parts above the heart is written as upper body part and the body parts below the heart has been mentioned as lower body part. And the lungs gives oxygen to the blood. Now the right compartment of the heart. From the upper body part, the deoxygenated blood will enter the right compartment via superior vena cava and from the lower body part via inferior vena cava. And the right compartment will pump the blood to the lungs via pulmonary artery. Artery because it is bringing blood to the lungs. Now lungs will give oxygen to the blood and it will reach left compartment of heart via pulmonary vein. Vein because lungs leaving the blood. Now from the left compartment it will reach upper and lower body via aorta. Now I am drawing a very simplified diagram of heart to understand. Now 4 compartments of the human heart, right and left atrium and right ventricle and left ventricle. From the upper body, the deoxygenated blood will enter the right atrium via superior vena cava and from the lower part via inferior vena cava. All the deoxygenated blood will enter the right atrium. After that, from the right atrium, it will reach the right ventricle and will be pumped towards the lungs to get oxygenated via pulmonary artery. There are right and left lung, so there are also right and left pulmonary artery to reach both the lungs. Now, from right and left lung, the oxygenated blood will enter the left atrium via pulmonary vein, and there are also present left and right pulmonary vein from left and right heart. And the oxygenated blood from left atrium to left ventricle and then will be pumped to both the lower and upper body part via the aorta. The upper aorta will form an aortic arch. Now we will compare the exact anatomy of heart with the simplified diagram. Here, this is the right atrium, the right ventricle, and this is the left atrium and left ventricle. Now, blood coming from the upper body part, the deoxygenated blood, will enter the right atrium via superior vena cava and will be carried to the right ventricle and then pumped to the lungs via pulmonary artery. This pair is left pulmonary artery and this pair is the right pulmonary artery that will reach both the left and right lung. Next, from the lung, the oxygenated blood will enter the left atrium via left pulmonary vein and right pulmonary vein from both the left and right lung. Then from the left ventricle, it will be pumped both upwards and downwards. Upwards, it is forming the aortic arch. This is the posterior view of the heart. This is the left ventricle, left atrium. This is the right atrium and the right ventricle. Now, blood coming from upper body, the deoxygenated blood, entering the right atrium via superior vena cava and from lower inferior vena cava. After reaching right atrium, it will go to the right ventricle, then it will reach the pulmonary artery and then to the lungs, the left and right pulmonary artery for left and right lung. And from the lung, via left pulmonary vein and right pulmonary vein, it will enter the left atrium, then to the to the left ventricle, and it will be pumped to the body parts via aorta and forming the aortic arch in the upper part. Now we will look into the valves of the heart. This is the superior vena cava, bringing the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium, and it will enter the right ventricle Between the right atrium and right ventricle, there is a valve present and it is called tricuspid valve. Next, from the right ventricle, the blood will enter the pulmonary artery, and between the right ventricle and pulmonary artery, there is a valve present that is called the pulmonary valve. Now, the pulmonary vein bringing blood to the left atrium and then entering the left ventricle. The valve present between left atrium and left ventricle is called the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. Now the blood will be pumped via the aorta. The valve present between the left ventricle and the aorta is called the aortic valve.